We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast. And while, we're only a couple of practices into Georgia football's 2025 fall camp right now, we already have a number of players doing big things and making waves out there at practice. So on today's show, I'm going to turn the spotlight on one of those players that I'm hearing a ton of buzz about already, almost universally through the early stages of fall camp. That has me really excited. So we'll get to that, guys. But before we do, if you are a diehard Georgia fan, go ahead, subscribe to the channel right now, turn those notifications on, because everything that we do here truly is 100% designed for all you Georgia diehards. So subscribe, like, comment, and while you're at it, check out Alumni Hall, guys. I know a lot of you are in the market for some 2025 Georgia game day gear, and you're not going to find a better selection of Georgia gear anywhere than at Alumni Hall. So make sure to check them out here in Athens inside the Epsbury Shopping Center. But all right, guys, let's dive into today's show. Let's talk some Georgia football fall camp. And before we get too far into this, I do want to throw out this obligatory disclaimer. Like, we're all excited, right? I'm excited. You're excited. It's been a long, dark offseason, like every offseason is. And Georgia football is now back, right? I know we don't have games right now, but it's back, baby. We got fall camp. We got practices to talk about. Gotta love it. So I'm excited about it. And I know naturally when you are that excited and you've been waiting as long as we have to get Georgia football back in our lives officially, you have a tendency to maybe overreact to some of the early buzz that you're hearing around some players. So usually I'm very hesitant to go too far pumping guys up early on in fall camp or even spring practice as well. I try really hard, guys, to contain my excitement. I like to see guys string together a number of practices, usually before I go too far. I think that helps guard against that kind of flash in the pan type stuff. I especially like to see guys get multiple padded practices in because, I don't know, that's still how we play football here in 2025. I know they're trying to neuter the game as much as possible, but today we still play football in pads. So you like to see the guys go out there and do big things in padded practices. And I would also, of course, prefer to see them myself. Unfortunately, that's not always possible. And right now, I have not had a chance to get out to one of the fall camp practices yet. I was able to last year. I don't know if I'll be able to this year. Fingers crossed. I'm hopeful, but not yet. And right now, we've only had 3 practices in total. We've had 1 single padded practice. So clearly, not a large sample size to work with here, admittedly. Again, I haven't seen practice myself. I haven't seen this with my own 2 eyes. These aren't my own evaluations. All this info I've got for you, just to be straight up with you here up front, it's all second and third hand stuff that I'm getting. But saying all that, putting that disclaimer out there, I'm going to break all those rules. I'm going to break all those rules today, guys. I'm going to make an exception here today because I got a name for y'all. I've got one name that has been almost, and not even almost, has been, let's just say, universally brought up in every conversation that I've had here in Athens around town over the past couple of days, over the weekend, and mentioned in basically every practice report that I have read from whatever outlet you want to name out there. And that player is transfer wide receiver from A&M, Noah Thomas. And one of the quotes, I'll give you one quote I've gotten about him over the weekend that stood out to me. And again, like everyone I talked to, everything I've heard all weekend about practice in general, Noah Thomas has been one of the first names to be brought up. And I had somebody tell me this weekend that, quote, he's always open. Even when you think he's covered, he's open. Which, when you're talking about a wide receiver, you love to hear that. Like, what do receivers do? Their job, if you want to boil it down, it's really 2 things. Get open, catch the football, right? So if he's always open, that's kind of encouraging news, right? Now, obviously, the part about, like, even when he's covered, he's open, that's alluding to his crazy size and length, his catch radius, 6'6" frame, wingspan, just ridiculous stuff, right? His ability to go up and kind of win those 50-50 balls, the contested catch stuff, high point, all that, which you know he can do, right? I know a lot of you, like when you saw that Noah Thomas was transferring to Georgia and you looked this guy up, the first thing you saw was, oh my God, he's 6'6". Like, yeah, he's going to be a red zone threat, a 50-50 ball guy, which, yes, he is. He can do all those things. They feature him in the red zone. They feature him in those kind of one-on-one, 50-50 situations. But he's also a lot more than that. He has a lot more to his game than just that. Yeah, he's 6'6", but he's also a legit athlete in a 6'6" frame with the ability to create separation with both his route running and just general overall athleticism. And there's one play from last year that comes to mind for me. If you want to look at like the total skill set of what Noah Thomas brings to the table, like, yes, we know he can go up and win the 50-50 ball. We know he can be the red zone threat, all that. But there is a play against Arkansas last year. That was actually his best game. 6 catches for a little over 100 yards in that game against the Hogs. And it's a old rivalry from the Southwest Conference. They play in Jerry's World every year now. And in that game, he had it was a 55, 60-ish yard touchdown catch. But it wasn't just like him running a go route and just going up and like out jumping a guy and then scoring a touchdown. He can do that, but that's not what this play was. This play showcased the other skills he brings to the table that I don't know if everyone's fully aware that he can do. So on this particular play, he does a great job off the line of pressing the DB, giving the impression that he's running a go route off the line. But about the 12, 15-yard mark, he plants his foot, opens his hips, breaks the sideline, running a deep out, and in the process leaves the Arkansas DB just like literally turning in circles. Completely has this guy out of sorts, creates separation with his route running, his athleticism, his ability to flip his hips. Marcel Reed, the quarterback, puts the ball on him. You have a safety coming downhill to make the tackle, and this is where his size, his physicality comes into play after the catch. He breaks that tackle, then he goes the rest of the way, 35 yards, turns the burners on, and nobody can catch him. Just leaves everybody else in the dust. He has that in his game as well. So when I hear pretty much everyone that I've talked to, all the conversations I've had, everything I've read about fall camp to this point, when I hear Noah Thomas be a name that's mentioned universally, it's not truly surprising because I know what type of talent this guy has. It's not surprising, right? This guy's always had the physical tools for years, going back to A&M. So it doesn't like blow me away. Oh my God, like what? Noah Thomas is making plays? Like he should be making plays. It's not surprising, but it's incredibly exciting. It is, guys. It's really exciting because when you go back to A&M, his numbers there like were never spectacular. They were modest to a degree, and so that's why I don't think his transfer to Georgia got enough attention in the offseason. Because if you really like watch a lot of football, even though he didn't put up massive numbers there, you just watch him out there on the field. Like this guy has an absurd amount of talent. The issue for him, A&M, the reason he didn't put up bigger numbers than he did as an Aggie, it really didn't have much to do with him. Like early on, like any receiver, he's learning how to play. But especially like last year, the guy easily could have been like 1,000-yard type guy at A&M last year, 100%. But the issue for a number of years at A&M has been this revolving door at the quarterback position. And of course, that limited his opportunities and the opportunities of every other receiver that has been at A&M in a couple of years. But the talent was there. The skill set was there. All you do is watch and see the guy out there on the field. And this spring at practice, like you saw the talent. You saw the skill set. You saw the flashes of big-time playmaking ability from Noah Thomas. And you saw it at A&M too. But while you did see really impressive flashes this spring, you also saw a guy that in his first spring on campus was still learning. His head was spinning out there trying to figure out our offense. It was a different offense than what they were running at A&M. So he kind of had to get up to speed on what to do. That took some time this spring. But again, you saw the talent. You saw him make some ridiculous plays. You saw the playmaking ability. And he did enough, even despite still very much being in the learning process of learning our offense, he still did enough to trot out there at G-Day with the number one offense as one of our 3 starting wide receivers. Now, unfortunately, he did get banged up at G-Day early on, and that limited his snap. So you didn't see much of him out there at G-Day. But I was able to catch a couple of spring practices, saw the early parts of G-Day when he was out there. And I saw enough this spring, combined with what I saw from him at A&M, to believe that Thomas has a chance to be a big-time part of the Georgia offense in 2025. Now, saying that, in fairness, there's a couple of things I've been very consistent with saying over the course of the offseason in reference to Georgia's wide receivers. Now, one of those things is I've said consistently, I think Georgia's wide receiver unit this year is going to be dramatically improved from where it was a year ago. I've also said a couple of times, I think that Georgia's wide receiver unit this year has a chance to be the best Georgia wide receiver unit in the history of the program. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but I mean that, guys. And like we don't have one guy that's going to be A.J. Green, but if you look at the room as a whole, the top line talent we have, the depth we have behind them, the quantity of playmakers that we have received this year, I do believe this has a chance to be the best receiver unit that Georgia has ever had. So I've been saying that. But another thing I've been saying is that when kind of handicapping that room, because one of the questions I've been asked throughout the offseason, like, hey, like we got a bunch of new receivers this year. Who do you think is going to be Georgia's leading receiver? Is it going to be Noah Thomas? Is it going to be Zachariah Branch? To me, I've been consistent saying it's going to be Colby Young. So no revisionist history here. I'm not coming on here saying, hey guys, I've been telling you this. Our leading receiver is going to be Noah Thomas all year. I haven't. I've been saying Colby Young pretty consistently. And I've been saying that due to a combination of Young's talent and also his familiarity with Georgia, our system, with Gunnar Stockton, getting a lot of reps with him last year on the scout team at times. So I have been consistent saying that Colby Young was going to be like that alpha guy for Georgia receiver. If there's one guy who was going to lead the team in receiving, and somebody's got to, it's going to be Colby Young. And he was kind of that guy this spring, and some of the newer guys are kind of getting back up to speed. But one more thing I've also said when talking about our wide receivers is like, while yeah, I do project Colby Young to be the number one guy for Georgia at the end of the year in terms of leading us in receiving, I've also said a number of times that it could end up being a guy like Noah Thomas or Zachariah Branch. Like, yeah, I'm predicting Colby Young right now, but I'm not going to say definitively it's 100% going to be him because we have a lot of talent outside of Young around him in that room. And Noah Thomas is one of those guys. It's just been hard for me this offseason, guys, to project him to be the number one guy receiver for Georgia this year when you haven't seen him at all in our offense in like a real actual game setting. And the fact that he was still very much learning what to do this spring, right? So I have projected Colby Young to be that guy all offseason long. And right now, I'm still not quite ready to go all the way out on the limb and say, you know what, I'm going to change my take here, and I'm going to replace Colby Young with Noah Thomas. I'm not ready to go that far yet. But if Thomas carries this fast start to fall camp over into another week, another 2 weeks, into the first scrimmage on Saturday, into the second scrimmage the following week, if what has been some early buzz around Noah Thomas's name, if that carries over and becomes a consistent theme over the course of the entirety of fall camp, and it's not just him having like a good practice or two, and it's like, oh no, he's doing it on a day-by-day, practice-by-practice basis. Well, if that becomes the case, then maybe I will need to go back and adjust that prediction on who's going to lead Georgia in receiving. Right now, I'm going to stick with Colby Young, but it's starting to sound more and more like Noah Thomas might have a chance to end up being that guy. But honestly, guys, I know that's fun offseason talk, like, hey, who's going to lead Georgia in receiving? But it doesn't really matter to me. Like, somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to lead Georgia in receiving. But the reality is, I think that both Colby Young and Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch and Dylan Bell and some other guys are going to do big things in Georgia's offense. They're all going to make plays for us at receiver because we have a number of guys that can do that for us. Whoever ends up being Georgia's leading receiver, like, cool, awesome, good for you. Somebody's got to do it. But to me, that's kind of just details. What I really care about when it comes down to it is Georgia fixing its offensive issues from last year. I'm a Georgia guy. I'm not a Noah Thomas guy, a Colby Young guy, a Zachariah Branch guy. I'm a Georgia guy. I just want Georgia to win, okay? So that's what I care about. I care about us fixing our offensive issues from last year that were obvious to all of us who watched Georgia play football last year. And if these early returns from fall camp regarding Noah Thomas are any indication, Thomas could absolutely end up being a big part of addressing two of the biggest offensive issues that plagued the Georgia offense last year. A decline in explosiveness in the passing game, and really a decline in explosiveness in general in the offense. And B, the run game just falling off a cliff. I think he can be a big part of the solution in both of those areas. So let's take them one by one here. Let's start with explosiveness, okay? Now, I want to go back to 2021 here, when we won that first national title in 40 years, and give you guys some numbers of how explosive the Georgia offense was. So in 2021, Georgia averaged 5.3 explosive plays per game. I'm defining explosive plays as plays of 20 or more yards from scrimmage, okay? So 2021, we averaged 5.3 explosive plays per game. 2022, that number skyrocketed from 5.3 to 6.5. That was the high water mark over the past couple of years. 2023, slightly down, but still really, really good, still elite. 6.1 plays of 20 or more yards per game. Last year, though, nosedive. We went from 6.5 in 2022, 6.1 in 2023, to 4.9 a year ago. And there were a variety of reasons for that. But one of the reasons was we simply did not have enough playmakers at wide receiver that could threaten defenses vertically down the field or after the catch. We had obviously Arian Smith had elite speed, but he also had to catch the football when you get behind them, right? And Carson Beck, in fairness, wasn't the most proficient deep ball passer. Gunnar Stockton's a much better deep ball, much more accurate, consistent deep ball passer, so that's going to be a part of the equation. But Thomas can also be a big part of fixing that decline in explosiveness from the Georgia offense a year ago, because he can generate explosive plays in a variety of ways. Yes, with his size, with his length, with his catch radius, he can go up and win those 50-50 balls. You get one-on-one coverage on the outside, like you saw at G-Day, when the defense would roll safeties in the box and we were getting one-on-one on the outside. It was almost like an auto check. Whoever was on the outside, we're just throwing up. Go get the football. And Noah Thomas can absolutely do that and help us create explosive plays that way. But again, like I said with the Arkansas game last year, that touchdown catch, he's far more than just that. He is a legit athlete that can run routes at a high rate, has really good speed for a guy that's 6'6", so he can create big plays, explosive plays after the catch as well with the athleticism. So I think that Thomas can be a big part of Georgia becoming a more explosive passing offense. And this is where the run game comes in. If Georgia can improve its explosiveness in the pass game, can pose more of a threat to defenses in the vertical passing game, that enhanced explosiveness will directly impact our ability to run the football more effectively and more efficiently than we did a year ago. You all know the issues we had running the football last year. I did a video on it a couple weeks ago, kind of breaking that down from every angle. So if you missed that, you can go check that out for a more detailed look at it. But it wasn't good enough last year, guys. 15th out of 16 teams in the league in rushing offense. In no world is that good enough, guys. It's just not, right? But you don't need me to tell you that. You saw it all last year. And I know when trying to ascribe blame for that, most people want to blame the offensive line. Put the lion's share of the blame on the offensive line, Stacey Searles, O-line coach. And I get that. They certainly have some culpability there. But as I've said many times in the offseason, the issues the O-line had were more injury-related last year than anything. But I think the part of our run game issues that doesn't get talked about enough and kind of gets lost in the shuffle, people want to blame the offensive line and getting like blind with rage at Stacey Searles, which I get. I think people forget about the role the passing game played in that, right? A big part of our inability to run the football with any sort of consistency last year was our lack of ability to consistently win one-on-one on the outside to make defenses pay for loading the box. We saw it time and time and time again last year, guys. Defenses simply did not have respect for our receivers out wide to threaten them enough to keep them from bringing safeties in the box and leaving that too high safety shell. And that resulted in Georgia having to face loaded, stacked boxes on a consistent basis where we were outnumbered in the box, where they were more defensive players, more defenders in the box than we had blockers. So you had a number of unblocked defenders making plays at or behind line of scrimmage in the run game, right? That happened far too often last year. And defenses felt comfortable being able to do that because they didn't have to worry about our ability to make them pay for leaving that too high safety shell, for rolling safeties in the box, for taking the numbers advantage in the box, because we didn't have guys that could do it last year. We simply did not, right? But now, if what Thomas is doing to start fall camp, if that is truly a sign of things to come this season, not just a flash in the pan over the course of the first couple of practices, if it really is an indicator of what this guy is going to do for the Georgia passing game in 2025, and you match him with Colby Young on the other side, well, now all of a sudden, you got two dudes out there with the size, the athleticism, and the ball skills to win those one-on-ones on the outside at a far higher rate than we did a year ago when defenses want to challenge us and they want to get safeties in the box. They want to try to take away our run game. So what that is going to do, if we have guys like Noah Thomas and Colby Young, and you want to throw in Zachariah Branch or Dylan Bell, whoever in the slot who can also make plays. I think we have a lot more explosive playmakers from the slot there this year. That's going to make it a lot harder on opposing defenses to get out of that too high safety shell because they cannot afford to leave us in one-on-one coverage on the outside the way that they were a year ago without really having to worry about it, right? And so what does that mean? How does it help the Georgia run game? Well, if they can't leave the too high safety shell because they have to have safety help over the top to account for guys like Colby Young and Noah Thomas and whoever we've got there in the slot, that is going to limit the number of bodies the defense is going to be able to bring into the box, right? So now, instead of being outnumbered in the box, which we were consistently last year on standard downs on first and second down, having unblocked defenders make the play on the ball carrier time and time again because we just simply didn't have somebody to block them there in the box. Well, that's now going to give us the numbers edge in the box, especially when you throw in the fact that Gunnar Stockton can run the football and we can option off defenders. Instead of having even numbers, we might actually have a +1 in the box, which we just simply never had at any point last year. And that is going to give our running backs a lot more room to operate in space. And Nate Frazier's a guy, you saw it at times last year, when he's given some room to operate, he is an explosive play waiting to happen at the running back position. The problem last year is that he and Trevor Etienne just simply didn't have much room to work with because the box was stacked when we wanted to run the football on first and second down on a relatively consistent basis. So our ability to win more consistently on the outside, which Noah Thomas is going to be a big part of helping us with if everything we're hearing about him is true, that is going to reduce the number of defenders in the box, and that's going to allow us to get back to traditional Georgia football offense. Downhill rushing attack, work play action, vertically down the field off of that. Now, again, to do that, though, we need multiple playmakers who can win one-on-one on the outside. And I was hopeful that Noah Thomas, with that combination of size and athleticism, could be one of those guys on the outside that could be a part of that answer. But when you're talking about a newcomer who is still learning our offense, who hasn't done it on the field yet in a real game, you never know. Like, you can hope, and I have hope, but you never really know. That's kind of why I've been hesitant to go too far out on the Noah Thomas limb. I've loved the skill set, the talent, but at some point you kind of have to see it, right? But it sounds like that's what we're in the process of seeing, guys, is Noah Thomas take what he learned from the spring, start fall camp with a bang, and really start to become the player that we need him to be for us out wide at receiver. So I'm excited, man. It's incredibly encouraging. It's incredibly exciting to hear that Noah Thomas is showing those signs of being the guy that I had high hopes that he could be for us. Now he's got to do it on Saturdays, but the early returns are extremely encouraging nonetheless. We just got to see him continue to do it over the course of the next week or two, which of course we'll keep tabs on to have you guys covered here on the Glory UGA podcast. So thank you guys so much for being here. I know, again, we're very early in fall camps, so we're talking about a small sample size. So let's be careful not overreact too much. But again, it's incredibly encouraging to hear the positive returns about Noah Thomas coming out of camp. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed today's show, please go ahead, subscribe right now, turn those notifications on, like the video, check out Alumni Hall for the best selection of Georgia gear anywhere. But for now, guys, I'm out of here. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.